Hello everyone, my name is Bob Wilson with St. Paul Street Evangelization, and I'd like to share with you 10 tips on how to be a better evangelist. But before that, I want to talk about what's going on in our world today. It's in bad shape. Our culture is really going down the tubes. Terrorists are killing people in the streets, marriage and the family are disintegrating, sex before marriage and abortion are commonplace, racism, gender confusion. It's a mess out there. It's pretty clear that our world is dying and souls are being lost. So how can we help? Well, in the past, Catholics have been very good at fighting against the evils of our day. We're the most charitable institution in the world. We march for life. We fight for religious liberty and free speech. And some of us get involved by debating people on social media. And these are all good things. But the problem is that the people who support the evils of our day have not encountered Jesus. They may have heard of him, but they don't know him. Or maybe they have the wrong impression of him. And maybe some have just rejected him outright. And so they're lost. We got to realize what original sin did to the human race. It wounded our nature. Now we have a darkened understanding of things, our wills are weak, and we like to sin. So a lot of times it won't matter how good our arguments are. There's a good chance they're going to fall on deaf ears. So, rather than talking to people about why abortion is evil or why sex outside of marriage is a sin, our time would be better spent trying to introduce people to Jesus. When people know Jesus and have experienced his love, only then can their minds be renewed and the teachings of our church will make sense. Romans 10 says, "For everyone who calls upon the name of the Lord will be saved. But how are they to call upon him in whom they have not believed? And how are they to believe in him of whom they have never heard? And how are they to hear without someone to tell them?" So faith comes from what is heard, and what is heard comes by the preaching of Christ. That means we have to open our mouths and tell people who Jesus is and what he did. We have to invite them to consider the Catholic Church and give them good reasons to do so. We also have to clear up misconceptions about our church. And then there are many people I'm sure out there who have rejected Christianity because some of the people proclaiming him were obnoxious or they weren't walking the walk. We can fix all these things if we share our Catholic faith in the right way. God tells us, "If my people who are called by my name humble themselves, pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land." And boy, do we need that right now. But all of us have to get involved. It's not just a job for our priests and deacons. Paragraph 1816 of the Catechism says, "The disciple of Christ must not only keep the faith and live on it, but also profess it, confidently bear witness to it, and spread it." Service of and witness to the faith are necessary for salvation. Did you catch that? Spreading the faith is necessary if we want to go to heaven. That was neat news to me the first time I heard it. That's why St. Paul says, "Woe to me if I don't preach the gospel." It makes sense if you think about it. If we have the cure to sin and hell and we keep that to ourselves, then we're not really loving our neighbors, are we? Okay, so sharing our faith isn't just for the people we evangelize. It saves our souls as well. Many times when I try to impress upon people the need to evangelize, I'll hear something like, "I don't think evangelization is for me. I wouldn't be comfortable doing that." Well, you know what? You weren't made for comfort. You were made for greatness. Do you think Jesus was comfortable being nailed to a tree? Love isn't about doing what you're comfortable doing. It's desiring somebody's good and then helping them attain it without worrying about what's in it for me, And the ultimate good, our first priority, has got to be heaven. It's the only thing that anyone of us is going to care about 100 years from now. So, the bottom line is this. You don't have to love to evangelize. You have to evangelize to love. And I know it's intimidating, but there's a great quote by G.K. Chesterton that should put us at ease. He said, "If anything is worth doing, it's worth doing badly." The first time I evangelized publicly was in downtown Detroit. Me, this kid from the suburbs. Do you think I was in my comfort zone? No way. But it's something the Holy Spirit inspired me to do despite my fears. And it gets easier, just like anything else. And God will bless you abundantly for obeying him when it's difficult. And you don't have to be some polished motivational speaker. You don't need a degree from Sacred Heart Seminary to share your faith. I learned the Catholic faith from listening to Catholic radio and those kiosks in our churches with those Catholic talks on CD. So hopefully we're all on the same page now. Sharing our faith isn't optional. It's not a suggestion. We have to do it. So how do we do it? What do we say to people? How do we act? Here's 10 tips on how to be a better evangelist.